everyone, and hi everybody. Welcome everyone. Today we have an extraordinary guest. I am your host Miriam Data Science Wali and student at Rehan School in Online Academy in Level 1. And welcome to our show, Miriam Talk Show. So, without wasting time, we can start our new episode with our extraordinary guest, a digital creator, a clear thinking leader, and an IT professional with over 14 years of experience across banking and manufacturing, telecom, and the pharmaceutical industry. He has worked international study at Texas Tech University and currently serves as a senior consultant in IT in the DFW area. Let's begin the powerful conversation. So, hi, Mark Novak, how are you?
I'm doing well today. And we've frozen.
Now you listen me?
Sorry.
Okay. So thank you so much for giving a precious time for our conservation. So first, I request you, can you introduce yourself for our viewers and who watching you?
Yes, my name is Mark Novak. I've been in the IT industry for about 40 years, working in the manufacturing, working mainly in the mainframe side of programming, doing both application programming and also doing support, customer support and development. I've designed a number of systems, and I've uh, lately been able to share a lot of my experience with other individuals, and I am looking forward to this interview.
Giving a precious introduction. So your journey began over 4 decades ago. What first attracted you to the world of technology?
Well, basically, what I liked about technology with the programming at the time, and of course, mainframes were much more obscure system at that time. They had PCs that were no more than glorified calculators. But the mainframe programming, the one thing that I liked was is that the results were clear. There was less soft measurability, that you could do the work and all that. So that would attracted to me, that what there was a clear measurable, there was a clear deliverable that I could, and a skill set that I could use and transition to other positions. So you understood the underlying computer technology, you could transfer that to a lot of roles at a lot of different companies, and that gave you a lot of options. And the assessments were basically based on technical results rather than soft skills or someone's opinion. You either had the chops or you didn't in the programming area.
An inspiring story. So our next is every industry has its own personality. What has each sector taught you?
Oh, IT tends to be an area in which people can be a little bit, can be either patient with you or infinitely impatient with you. That there's an area in which there are high level people and executives in the industry that will say, well, how hard can this be? And they will say, well, just go ahead and do these particular things. So you do have the challenge in the IT industry of explaining that there's an awful lot of things that you're working on underneath the covers, that sometimes a problem looks easy, but the solution isn't as easy. But the other side of that is that sometimes things that are relatively easy to do, namely the front end of a particular application, well, that's the easy part, but that's also a lot of part which people get more credit for. So, if you had a 3-layer process in which you had an interface and you had the middle and you had the bottom end, well, I would normally be writing the programs that would be doing the heavy lifting at the third level. And a lot of people who are writing things in which they get the GUI interface at the primary level, they would get an awful lot more credit for what is resulting in the application. And then you see, but it is what it is. The pretty face wins.
Powerful blend of lessons. Hearing how you connect of those experiences shows why you have such a holistic understanding of the IT world. So exactly hearing it from someone with your experiences makes it clear manufacturers aren't all, they are foundational. So you work on systems where failure simplify isn't an option. How do you approach reliability?
Um, well, sometimes if a lot of times in IT, they will basically say that failure is not an option in an awful lot of systems because you've got compliance issues or you've got issues of deliverability that the system that a particular success of a particular program would be tied to a particular IT system, and the key is to plan and to understand what they want and giving them a deliverable. The one problem that you do have in the IT industry is that once you show them something, sometimes the customer will want something more, and you can have a lot of requirements creep. So you have to keep things focused. You have to, have the discipline of having the customer, have an objective and then be able to meet that objective. And then if there's issues under the covers or reasons that something can't be done the way they want it a particular way, offering the option of doing something another way that would also meet their objectives. And that is always a challenge within the IT industry. And clear communication often is the key, being able to express and also offer creative options, sometimes more on the fly than you'd appreciate.
Tech cities, Texas cities like Dallas and Fort Worth. How has Texas culture influenced your work ethic and professional outlook?
Um, the work gives you okay. Oh yeah, the the work ethic that I have is that, and one of the surprising things is that if you're willing to show up and do things on a regular basis, go in and show that you have the chops, that a lot of times is a good measurable. And that is my basic attitude is that I will show up, I will do the work every day, I will be available for them. If I'm working remotely, I'll be available from home. If they need me to go into the site, I will go into the site. uh, the challenge being is that you have the commute in the DFW area, in which I might have to drive 40 miles to a particular job, which means that you have to know to wake up early. So the attitude is that you just basically you're starting your momentum going forward, and then you're doing what needs to be done. And working with individuals. If they know what they're talking about, a lot of times they're willing to work with you, and that's always a refreshing experience. So the IT industry is an area in which you are working with people who can't fake things. They either have the chops or they don't.
Resonates in your professionalism and ground approach. So, in your current role, supporting clients' IT operations within a large family-ritual organizations, what does high performance acquisition look like in your daily responsibilities?
Okay, so in terms of the daily responsibilities when you're working within that particular industry, the pharmaceuticals, which was an industry I worked in the past, is that a lot of times what they are expecting is that things will go wrong. We had literally millions of messages going through the system every day, and they would ask. If things went wrong, they would go wrong really fast. So someone would sometimes, when you were in the support role in that particular thing, something would go wrong, and you would get a call in the middle of the night, and they would expect you to immediately be able to go in and troubleshoot. When you have something like messages that are queuing up or messages that are not arriving, you just got to look at the servers. You got to figure out what is wrong. A lot of times, that there's a few simple things that you can do in order to get the process going. So it can be a little bit stressful, but the expectation is that you're going to be able to see and go underneath the covers and find the underlying problem awfully fast. The good thing about things like the messaging area is that you a lot of times will have an application that will put out the messages to a secondary location, so you don't lose any information. But you need to be able to communicate that clearly to the people on the other end, that you know what you're doing, because a lot of times if something goes wrong, particularly in the pharmaceuticals messaging industry, things can escalate awfully fast because the customers on the other side are expecting rapid response, and their systems working smoothly dependent on your systems working smoothly.
Writer behind your work. So you witness the rise of multiple technology eras, which upcoming innovation.
Yes, I've witnessed
I will.
multiple technologies coming across. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hmm.
Rise of multiple technologies eras, which upcoming innovation or shift do you believe will have the most significant impact on the future of IT?
Let's see. Okay, so you're basically saying, I would have to say that it is a toss-up. I think that AI technology is going to have a significant effect on IT, and it's going to have an effect that could be good, but it could also cut the other way, because AI technology can allow people to do things or have the illusions of a lot of productivity and produce applications relatively fast and relatively smoothly. But the flip side of AI is that AI could develop programs that do things well, do things efficiently, but could get some of the small details wrong. And there's going to be a lot of challenge in the future of IT that people are going to be trying to develop algorithms using IT, but on the smaller scale level, there's going to be glitches that could be insidious. There could be flaws in the logic that may not manifest themselves for months, and then by that time, the impact is high. So I would have to say that AI, with the combination of cloud computing, is going to be having a significant effect in the future of computing, but it is not necessarily going to be as positive or as productive as people anticipate. There's going to be issues, and it's going to require human beings to intervene, to tweak the code, to get the process going, and to understand the process in a language that AI can generate a solution and continue to run that solution in a very equitable fashion that meets the customer's expectations.
Or guiding principle would you offer to the next generation of IT professionals entering the field today?
Oh, advice for the next generation of IT professionals, is that I would say invest a lot of time in underlying technologies like the database technologies and communication technologies and some of the lower level technologies, even in the mainframe area or in the cloud computing area, because those lower level technologies tend to be the foundation of IT operation. So if you can invest your time in the underlying technologies and not necessarily the interfacing stuff, the user interfacing level technologies, you'll probably have better long-term prospects within the industry, because a lot of the interface and GUI technologies, those are easy to generate, but the underlying technologies in which you are accessing information in a database like Oracle or DB2 or some of the databases that are associated with the cloud computing, understanding those technologies is probably a more important skill set, because that will offer the deliverable, and that is the meat and potatoes of a particular IT operation. So invest in underlying technologies, understand the more obscure bottom end of the programming language, and I think that would probably be the best long-term option for staying viable within the industry.
Okay, so even with decades of experience, you remain committed to continuously learning. What areas of technology or leadership are you currently focusing on?
Okay, the technology leadership that I'm currently focusing on is I am now learning some of the technologies that are associated with mid-range computing and some of the technologies associated with Oracle computing. And the reason I'm focusing on those is that the mid-range computers in the current job that I'm working on do an awful lot of communication with the mainframe. So I'm trying to get a better focus on those technologies and the storage within the Oracle area. That way, when things go wrong in the communication between the mainframe and the mid-range, I can look at both sides and be able to troubleshoot the particular issue for the customer. And that's one of the problems that you have is that when you're communicating between a mid-range system and a mainframe system, things can go wrong, and they can go wrong in ways that are not necessarily obvious. And all the customer knows is that something's not working, and you have two systems which are doing an awful lot of processing that are communicating with each other. So that's what I'm focusing on now, communication between mid-range systems and mainframe systems, which is Unix-based systems on the mid-range, and the mainframe, which is an NVS-based system.
Is truly inspiring. So my next question about that. Leadership expectations have shifted dramatically in modern workplaces. From your perspective, what competencies define an effective leader in today's technology-driven environment?
Okay, in today's technology-driven environment, one of the things that defines leadership most is that they need to be able to understand what is happening at the technical level and be able to communicate it with other individuals. Now, the big challenge now is that a leader in an IT industry has to have some understanding of the interfaces, some understanding of what's involved in mid-range systems, and some understanding that's what's involved in the lower level processing, whether or not it's mainframe or cloud, and be able to communicate the requirements, being able to bring people on board. That's one of the big issues that you have is that when we interview people to bring people on board for the IT industry, we need to make sure, since we're spending a lot of money on those resources, that that person's not faking it, that they're not reading scripts for an answer, that that we're bringing on good individuals who have actually worked within the industry, actually understand the mainframe. So you have to be able to, when you're talking to people and bringing new people on board, that you need to have enough understanding of the systems to know when they're answering questions and how they're answering questions, that they have the needed understanding and the needed tool sets that you need in order to do the job that's doing. Because a lot of people in IT can fake a lot of technical terms, but the underlying understanding is a little bit more subtle, and when you're hiring people, a lot of times you need to give good reasons why you're rejecting a candidate who looks really good on paper but really is just saying a bunch of buzzwords and doesn't really understand what they're talking about. And that can cost you, because then months later you have to replace that person who faked their way in.
Giving our answers in our podcast. And thank you so much for giving us precious soul time and sharing your journey. So let's end this our interview and podcast. I hope so everyone likes this podcast and your advices about IT generations. So our time is 4:51 p.m. in Pakistani Standard, and our date is 12 December 2025, and day is Friday. So hope so we can end it. So goodbye and have a nice day. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. It was real good. It was real fun being interviewed. I'm glad I could share. All right. I hope I was a great candidate for you. All right.